everyone. I hope everybody's keeping well and staying safe during these days. And I'm happy to see you all be online today. And also, I'm very glad to deliver this workshop along with Indika and Tariq. So let's see what's the workshop timeline is. This workshop is about taking you through a bit of introduction of what is a brand, and then how a logo acts or how a logo connects to a brand, and a basic introduction about a logo, and then detailed introduction of how to design a logo, and then that is done by Indika. And then Tariq will explain you how to create a multilingual logo type. And then we will allow you about 10 minutes to do a quick sketch on the information that you received. And we will be providing you a few sample logos where you can choose one from, and then you can convert that particular logo into your own language or another language that you like to. And then we will explain you a few do's and don'ts, that not that hard and fast rules, but a few things to consider when you're designing a multilingual logo. And then based on that, you can either refine your sketch and then continue to develop it. And then based on your designs, we will be giving you feedback. And then with a Q&A session, we will end the workshop. So let's see, here we have given you about a few examples on how a designer, another graphic designer, have converted the famous logos into his own language. Here, this is a FedEx logo, and so this is something like this is what you're going to be doing today. So let's see what's the basics of a logo design. So from the moment we wake up, can you remember the number of all the brands that you used or saw until now? Let's start with the toothbrush and toothpaste, and then the soap and the shampoo and the clothes we wear, even the food we eat, the kitchen appliances, the home appliances, and up until now, the data connection that you use, the laptop that you use, even the Zoom. So all these are brands. And we have our favorite brands. Some time ago, we used some brands and some we are not using now. And it's highly likely that we will replace some brands in the future as well. So the relationship or the connection we have to brands is similar to the connections we have to people in our lives. When we make some people, when we make people, we have our own first impressions. First, we might think that, okay, this person is nice, this person is cool, this person is reliable, funny, loyal, and so on. And then after some time, based on the things that they say and do, these impressions or these emotions or these connections some start to grow bigger, some grow smaller, some just fade away. So just like that, we start building and making up ideas or creating emotional connections to brands. So from the time we see a logo, and then when we decide to, let's say, visit their store, and then let's say we explore their products and we check their prices, and we interact with the employees, and even when we might go and order something online, and we actually use the product, and we might see their CEO giving a speech. So all these, everything that that related to a company and their products and services encompasses a brand. So in simply put, everything that runs across our minds when we think about a company is a brand. So when we interact with these their products and services, these interactions are called brand experiences. So these brand experiences, all these emotions we have towards them, they are not accidental. They are actually the ideas or opinions that are explicitly put to our minds through these brands. And that process is called branding. And they do it through the 5 senses: the visuals, sounds, taste, smell, and touch or feel. And since logo logo comes under visual identities, today I'm going to talk only about visual identity. So visual identity is everything that we see that is related to a brand, starting from the logo, the stationery, the colors, the typography, the website, the advertisements, brochures, everything that we see related to a brand comes under visual identity. Okay, so what is a logo? We can say it is the basic, most important graphic element of the visual identity. That is, everything else, all the other items in a visual identity derives from the logo, such as the colors and typography and the shapes. And based on the logo, how the logo is designed, we get our first impression. So in order to logo to be successful, it should serve a purpose. So as all the other design or any other kind of design serves a purpose, just like the chair you are sitting and the phone we are using, logo is also a design which serves a purpose. So the primary purpose of a logo is to identify the brand. So when someone can say, okay, they draw something and add the company name so that there's your logo. But no, that's not just the logo. There are a lot of things that put to a logo that it becomes one of the famous or one of the good logos that actually serves the purpose. So let's see what are these qualities are. A logo should be simple. That means from the young age, we see all these basic shapes like circles, squares, stars, and all. But still, even when we grow older, we tend to remember that because they are very simple and our brain perceives them and we can easily recall them. But that doesn't mean that all the logos should be a circle or a square. It means it could possibly be conveying 1 or maximum 2 ideas. If you try to embed more than that, I mean, let's say 5 to 6 ideas, the logo might try to convey too many ideas, and then person who sees or the audience might get confused, and it might not be very easy for them to remember. So a good logo is simple, that probably conveys a simple idea, just like the Nike logo. So Nike is the winged goddess for victory in Greek mythology, hence the name. And then the swoosh or the graphic of the Nike is the wing. It depicts the wing of the goddess. So it is very simple, and it is also related to the brand so that it was easily remembered by the audience and it is loved by the audience. And then a logo should be unique. By unique, it means it should be easily differentiated from the others, or it should stand out from the others. So for an example, take the Apple logo. Yeah, it's just an apple, right? But what makes it apart from the others? Or the fruit apple. It has this bitten part. I mean, the logo is made up of a part missing, which is a bite taken by someone. So it is not just an apple shape. So it has a distinct shape and it stood out. And that's why it is known and loved by most people. And then the logo should be timeless. You know, all these logos, most of the logos that are here, that is like Apple, FedEx, Nike, and many of the other famous brands, they have been designed at least in 1970s. Especially these 3 logos are designed in 1970s. So they have been used for about like 50 years now, and then currently it is being used, and there's a big possibility that they'll be used in the next decade or 2 decades. So especially when you look at the Apple logo, it went through a few changes, that is colors, but they never changed the idea or the concept of the logo. So logo should be timeless, that is, it should be able to stand through time, through trends, through company reforms, and so on. And then lastly, the logo should be relatable. That means, like, we are born to a visual world, and since very young age, we are trained to connect our ideas and our thoughts and emotions, and even when we read a book, everything, we are trained to connect to a picture or a graphic or a shape or a visual. So the more the logo or the graphic that is used is related to the company or the company name or the service or the product, the audience will easily perceive it or grab it, or they will easily relate to it. So a logo also should be relatable. And there are some other qualities that have not included here. Let's say a logo should be adaptable. If a company decides to change a logo in the future, then they'll be able to do it without changing the main concept. And then a logo should be scalable. That is, if a logo is scaled down to like the size of an icon, it should still be clear and convey the message. And then if it's a wordmark logo, such as FedEx, then it should be readable. So it should be clear, and the letters also should be very clear, and the audience should be able to clearly read the word. And then a logo should have an aesthetic appeal. So all these, a logo which has all these could be considered as a well-thought logo. As we see, most of these famous logos are well-thought logos. That's why they are loved by the audiences. But one thing, the main thing is, a logo cannot make a company famous. Only if the company, if a company's logo can only complement a company's growth, and same as that, a company's products and their let's say ethics and their good practices and their brand experiences always can complement a logo. So because of that, a logo could get famous. So vice versa. So it's a mutual beneficial relationship that logo and the company or the brand has. Okay, I think Indika will explain the designing process of a logo.
Thank you, Samadara. So because today's session is mostly about the workshop, I'll just briefly take you through how a logo is designed and just briefly cover what are the main stages. And if you go to the next slide, when you start a logo design process, it's all about understanding about the brand and the company, the audience, and also about the competition, the market that it will live in. So the first thing is, if you go to the next slide, it's about understanding what the current brand is. You should, when you have the first client meeting, you should talk to the person that you're dealing with and try to gather as much information possible about the company, their history, and what product or service they're offering and what they're trying to do. It's also good to not only talk about their past and what they've been doing, but also their future plans, so that you are creating a design that would be future-proof and perfectly aligned to what they plan to do. And the next slide is about understanding about their audience. So this is the second pillar of a brand, I would say. It's talking to the right kind of people. So a misconception is that a question that clients struggle with sometimes is because they think their current audience is what they should cater to. But if you are designing the logo properly and brand identity properly, you should talk to the brand managers or anyone who's handling the project to create what we call as user personas. So that will sort of identify what your top type of clients are, and we go into details on how they live, how they think about the brand, what the usual lifestyle is. In that process, we sort of extract some insight on how to communicate to our audience properly, and understanding your audience is a key part in designing the logo or the brand system for your company. And it sort of lets us fine-tune the personality of the brand itself by understanding who you cater to. And the third part, if you go to the next slide, is understanding about your competition. In the next slide, I've shown these slides are taken from a project that I did for Capital One Bank. So before I did the logo design, I looked at other banks in the space and how they treat their visual identities. You should go to a visual study and a branding study of the competition, as well as what they're doing business-wise and how they interact with the current brand and what their pluses and minuses are. So the whole idea is to create an identity for our brand that can live among these things and still stand out. So it's crucial that you know about your competition as well as your brand and your audience. Then if you go to the next slide, it's taking all these information and setting yourself a brief, defining what your problem is. There are two types of logo design projects that you can get. If you're starting from scratch, it's slightly different. And if there's already a design and they're looking for a redesign for some reason, you should really identify why they're doing this redesign in the first place. Maybe they have shifted their focus. Maybe their current logo doesn't really work for them. Maybe there are restrictions and technical problems that the current logo and the brand identity has. Like Samadara mentioned, if the logo isn't constructed properly, if there are too many things going on and it's hard to read, there could be problems. So at this stage, after that initial research, you should set yourself a brief, talking to the client, and agree on the design direction so that everyone's in the same page. And then when you move on to the next, it's all about having that brief in mind, a certain direction in mind, and exploring. And it's about sketching out a lot of ideas. I think in the next slide, there are some sketches that I've done for the logo mark, but this is just one page. Usually you go through about 50 to about 100 quick sketches. You are generally recommended to churn out as many designs as possible in a short amount of time, so that you get your bad ideas on paper, and then refine and work with something that you actually like. And then if you go to the next slide, there are some marks that I've refined for this particular project, and taking those in and talking to the client, you find something that really represents the brand and what they're looking for, and agree on something, on the next slide, I think I've talked about how it's refined, and then you move on to the final design where you tackle the nitty-gritties of the color usage and what type of applications that you want to do. If it's a bank, you treat it differently, and if it's a smaller brand like a coffee shop, the applications that you get are slightly different. So it's good to talk to the client and identify these applications and where the logo would live beforehand, and then move on to the designs. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover. It's just a brief overview of the process. I think we can move on to hand over this to Tariq to explain about multilingual logo types.
Thank you, Indiga. Yeah, so basically, like we are actually trying to recreate a logo type into a script that really we wanted to do. So logo type essentially as a picture is made of letters, right? So what we are doing here is we are not, if you can go to the next slide, which is like we are not just creating something, just replicating. No, we are actually adapting the essence of the brand. Sometimes the brands may have, like, let's say, like a playful one or serious one. Maybe maybe there's an old brand. So we need to get those kind of legacy and take that, capture those kind of thing and put it into the system. Let's say, just because we want to turn something into another script doesn't mean we don't have to worry about any other thing. We have to focus on the script authenticity, right? That's the important thing. So the next slide, if you look at this Miniso logo. So here, in order to take the balance in it, they put a kind of an emoji into this English version, and the Chinese version is the same as is it. So they kind of cohesive to get it into the moment and say the curves and everything's are being kind of utilized. And if you can see here, there are some kind of identical way of looking at these both logos, right? So that's the part of it. And if you can go to the next one, so there's a Arabic one, the Selin one, which is the same essence. Let's say if you look at here, even though the noon in Arabic and the C, it's actually has not the same curves in it, but again, it actually resembles the kind of the essence of this very script. We can't just turn the C into this way and make it as no, it's not that, because we have to focus on the script as well to give an identity. So that's the part of it. So we need to not to replicate the typographical one, just to capture the idea or the behind the soul of the brand and to recreate it, or maybe to adapt it. Okay, so that's the one. So if you can move on to the next one. So the important element is, so sometimes the logos can have different types of different various of letter forms, but just because it does have the letter forms doesn't mean we have to take all the essence and to turn it into something which they can't even read as a native language native people. So let's if I go through the logo that I did for the Jackie Brown movie, which let's say it's a kind of the side hustle day for the title in translation project, where I took a couple of essence into adapt for the Tamil. Again, we are not compromising the legibility. Legibility is very important. If somebody sees this Tamil logo, they should just read the logo itself. So that's the important part. So if we go to the next one, it's the Magic Mic one. So again, the same principle applies here. So we are not, if you look at the C and the kombu, retta kombu, they are not similar really, but they are similar kind of. Okay, so we have to focus on the authenticity of the script and focus on that, and also make sure to have the legibility in place. Okay, so if you can go to the next one. So this one is Austin Powers. Again, the legibility is very important. So even here you can see that Austin Powers has been very portrayed in Tamil resembled in a very nice way, so that as soon as somebody sees this this logo, they can actually read it, right? So the part of the important element is reading it as a logo type. Sometimes the old brands may not have this kind of legibility, but that's okay because they are being consistent for a long time. But when you are making something out of it, so which is very important to focus on the legibility, then it can relate, the native people can relate that logo's essence and start to feel it, right? So that's the part. So next one is all about harmonizing the size. The size in the sense, let's say, just because it does have a wider logo doesn't mean we have to do the same thing in another language. So if we can go to the next one, so there is a Hebrew logo type for the Unilever, but if you can see, they are totally different way of, even though they actually go from right to left, but again, the size is not the same, but the essence of it to adapt the soul of the brand, that's what is happening here. So if you can see that they actually, even in this given C, they are actually taking into the next one. Yeah, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So even if you look at here, they can even extend the Arabic to fit this line or the width, but it's not the essence of it, because when you extend it, it may look not as authentic as it is in Arabic. So they had to focus on the script element as well. So the next one is another Arabic one, which is the diesel. So even here, if you see, they are the same. They actually carries the same identical the width of the letter forms, and as well as these letter formations, curves and everything, but they are not the same width in terms of the whole logo type. So yeah, so the important element is we need to focus on to create a logo type, just to not to replicate, but to maintain the and adapt the soul of the brand. So that's the important message that I want to give you, and also focusing on the legibility as well as the size. So that's all I wanted to cover, and we need to do some work here. Yeah.
So while you are designing, sketching the concepts, I'll explain you a little bit about do's and don'ts when you are designing a word mark. These are not hard and fast rules. These are just things to consider. We have all seen the Instagram's logos. The very first word mark was actually not custom designed word mark or typeface. It was taken from or just typed out using Billabong typeface. Billabong typeface was designed by Type Association. And if you download the Billabong and if you type the word Instagram, you will see exactly this. And when it comes to a logo, the main one of the main features should be the uniqueness of it, or it should stand out from the rest. So if a logo could be, especially if it's a word mark logo, if it could be typed out of another typeface, then it doesn't serve the purpose. So next, they hired a graphic designer called Mackie Saturday, and the design on your right side is the one that he designed, and it is a custom logo. And this logo is the one that I really liked, and this is the one this logo, I think, became very famous. So you can see that that particular word mark, all the designs and the styles and the features that Maggie Saturday had used are inviting and very friendly, and all the connections that are within the letters are kind of resembling networking. So I think that that word mark really served the brand, and it really suited the brand better than the previous one. Even the Pinterest and Kellogg's, yes, they are also custom typefaces. Those letters were designed just for those brands. You cannot find a typeface that will look like this. So one of the main thing is, if you are specially designing a word mark for a logo, that you should always try to custom design the letters. And let's say for some reason, if you're unable to custom design letters from the scratch, and if you find a typeface that suits the brand's personality, or the client might as well suggest a typeface, then you can try to adopt the brand's, let's say, the idea behind the brand, or the products or the services they offer, and take those ideas and embed into the word mark, like Netflix. So Netflix is made out of Bebas Neo, and in the black color you can see how it looks like if you just type it using the Bebas Neo. But then the thing is, they have done some changes to that, so that the word mark will suit the brand. That is, you can see an arch in the lower section of the word mark, which depicts the movie theater screen, which also gives us a feel of a movie theater screen. So Netflix have done it like that. I think I really like it, and I think most people like that, and it kind of makes us feel that movie theater kind of vibe. And then the Gillette logo. Gillette logo is also made of Futura extra bold italic. And if you just type the word Gillette using Futura, what you can see is onto your right side in black color. But they have done some changes, like they have reduced the kerning and the letter spacing, that means the spaces of the letters. And then they had somehow added a cut to the letter I, because in the original typeface, the letter I it has a circle, while in the word mark it is squared, and still they have put a cut to it, which resembles the angle of the razor blade as well as a cut. So they have adopted, they have used an existing logo and adopted it to suit their brand and convey the idea of their brand. So these are two things that you need to consider when you're designing a word mark.
These are some of the things that I thought we should consider when creating a logo type in a different language. අපි වෙන භාෂාවකින් වෙන ස්ක්‍රිප්ට් එකකින් අලුත් ලෝගෝ ටයිප් එකක් හදද්දි බලන්න පුළුවන් sections ගැන මම මේ පොඩ්ඩක් point out කරන්න ගියේ. මුලින්ම skeleton එක, ඒ කියන්නේ මේකේ අපි සැකිල්ල කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන් ලෝගෝ එකේ characters වල අපි තනි ඉරකින්, ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ලෝගෝ එකේ තියෙන ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකේ ස්ට්‍රෝක් විඩ්ත් එක වෙනස් කරන්න නැතුව අපි බෝල් පොයින්ට් පෑන් එකකින් හරි නැත්නම් පැන්සල් එකකින් මේක ට්‍රේස් අවුට් කරාම අපිට ඒකට හැඩයක් එනවා. අන්නේ සැකිල්ල අපිට බලන්න පුළුවන් අලුත් ලෝගෝ එකක් ක්‍රියේට් කරද්දී. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට බලන්න පුළුවන් height and width, the height of the characters and the width of it. උස සහ පළල කොහොමද මේක වේරි වෙන්නේ, ඒ ගැන අවධානය යොමු කරන්න ඕනේ. ඊට පස්සේ type of stroke මේකේ තියෙන lines වල තියෙන ස්වභාවය කොහොමද කියලා. දැන් මේ Coca-Cola logo එකේ නම් අපිට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් මේ stroke width එක මේ line thickness එක අඩු වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ වගේ modulate වෙලා තියෙන line thickness එකක්ද නැත්නම් එක සමාන line thickness එකක් එනවද, ඒ වගේ නැත්නම් වෙන characteristics තියනවද කියලා අපිට අවධානය යොමු කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ අපි බලන්න ඕනේ අකුරු ඉවර වෙන තැන් වල terminals කියලා කියනවා අපි. දැන් මේ C අකුරේ පටන් ගන්නකොට පොඩි ගැටයක් වගේ එකක් අපිට දකින්න පුළුවන් මෙතන. ඊට පස්සේ C අකුර ඉවර වෙන තැන tail එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේ විශේෂ characteristics තියෙනවා නම් අපි ඒවා අඳුන ගන්න ඕනේ. ඒවා පුළුවන් තරම් අලුත් design එකට convert කරගන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම embellishments, ඒ කියන්නේ තව මොනවා හරි design element එකක් add කරලා තියෙනවා. සමහර වෙලාවට characters වලට inline එකක් යනවා. මැද තව line එකක් නැත්නම් 3D effect එකක් වගේ දීලා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ දේවල්. තව creative modifications කියන්නේ අකුරු වලට character එකේ නැති feature එකක් character එකට add කරන එක. අන්න ඔය තියෙන sections තමයි mainly අපි consider කරන්න ඕනේ අලුත් design එකක් කරද්දී. දැනට තියෙන design එකේ features මොනවද, ඒ වයින් අපි අලුත් design එකට ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා මේ ඔක්කොම consider කරද්දී අන්තිමට අපේ deciding factor එක වෙන්නේ තමන්ගේ අලුත් design එක ඒ තියෙන language එකෙන්, ඒ තියෙන script එකෙන් පැහැදිලිව කියවන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. සමහර වෙලාවට ඒ අකුරට අර තියෙන treatment එක වැඩ කරන්න නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් priority එක දෙන්න ඕනේ මේක readable ද, කියවන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක. ඒ ටික තමයි මම හිතන්නේ මේ mainly අපි consider කරන්න ඕන දේවල්.